Hi folks, and welcome to another session of Plkitty Sandbox play. Today we're taking a look at Landmark, and I thought that I'd actually go through the different tier situations that we have going on here, because it can be a little bit confusing. It's taken me a little bit to kind of figure it out, and that has been evolving as well. So basically there are two different tiers that we can speak of. We can talk about the different tier maps where you will find different resources, and then you can actually talk about the different tier resources themselves. So within a different tier map, you can collect a couple of different tier resources, because there tends to be a little bit of overlap. So today I wanted to take a look at tier 1. And before we do that, I thought that I would actually just share with you guys that I did a little spelunking earlier and actually got myself a little trapped. So I had to retreat via the unstuck ability kind of thing, but I found my very first chest, and so I am going to be kind of changing from my regular outfit here to inventory and character here. So I got the Treasure Seeker's garb in orange. So it has a lovely little bow tie, and I thought it was kind of fun. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys. But on today's session, I wanted to kind of talk about the different tools and resources for Tier 1. So when you start out, I'm going to bring up my inventory again, you have your stone pick and your stone axe. Now for those of you like myself who are actually paying for a Founders pack, which gives you access, early access, unlimited, then you also received your Founder's Pickaxe, which actually goes up to Tier 2 without having to kind of make a secondary or make upgrades. Plus, it actually acts as both a pick and an axe, which is really nice because you don't have to continually shift between, so you don't actually technically have to have it on your bar because you aren't shifting in between. But for the beta keys, which I did start out with, I did actually have beta key, so I played for the 7 days that you get to use with your beta key, and that gave me my stone axe and my stone pick. And so because of that, during that time that I was playing, I actually did have to make my upgrades. So I made my copper pick and my tin pick. And so what this means is that it allows you to actually gather different resources. So when you start out, your stone pick allows you to gather your Tier 1 resources within your Tier 1 map. And that will collect, so that means your copper and agate. It also says here dirt, ice, basic stone. Those aren't resources that you may necessarily use to build things, or to rather make items within the like crafting table kind of things, but they are resources that you will use to actually build structures. So they are still really important resources to gather. And then your axe allows you to cut down basic trees, and that gives you your basic wood and heartwood, which are your kind of Tier 1 resources for that. So on the right hand side, you will notice that I have listed all of the different resources that you can pick. So here's my fancy, and you'll notice that it's quite nice looking, my fancy Founder's pick. So this is another thing that I wanted to show you. So you notice I'm not picking anything up. So these deposits near the spire are just to actually indicate what is available within this zone. And so they're not actually collectible resources. So you have to go out a little bit. I'm not even sure if this one will be far enough. Yeah, okay, so this is far enough. So here I'm collecting copper ore, dirt. I should also be getting some elemental copper here as well. Can I get right in there? So there's the elemental copper. Okay. So that's what copper looks like. See if we can find some other resources here. And I did find a cave over this way. I don't know if it's still there, or rather if I can find it. Might be more. So that will be able, I'll be able to show you some more of that. So you can also chop down trees. So these are just regular old trees. Now if you don't have the founders set, then you will actually have to kind of switch between your axe and your pick and your axe, rather. So you'll see there I'm getting burled wood logs and heartwood are the two resources that we get at this level. So when you zone into the game, you're in your tier 1 map and you're able to find and collect all of these resources. There are lots of different tier 1 areas, and we'll have a look at that kind of at the end of the video as well. Oh. Here's some agate. It's kind of hard to tell the difference between the two, since they're both kind of bright yellowy. The agate's just a little bit more yellow, and the copper's a little bit more orangey. And sometimes you'll, like this, you'll find them actually together. And you'll want lots of copper. So copper is used for a number of different things, one of which is to go as currency in your bank, which pays for your claims, so your land. Yeah. See if we can go find a cave. So one of the things that is kind of shifting with resources is they've just recently, just this past month, June, I think like 9th, 10th, somewhere around there, they added caves. And so with the addition of caves comes more resources. And so there is rumor that, so don't quote me on this, I mean, we're still in early access, so things can easily change, but there is talk of possibly all resources being available on all maps through caves and underground caverns. And I haven't built it yet, and I probably should have, but I wanted to kind of start at the beginning. But there is actually a way to find caves and identify deposits. I know it was around here somewhere. So even these big, huge trees makes me feel kind of bad, but I can cut them down. For those of you who follow me on Google Plus as well, I actually just posted a picture because I had just had lunch a little while ago and was doing some real life resource collecting, and I had picked some fresh herbs to go on my sandwich, which was very yummy. Okay. So lots and lots, like I said, lots and lots of copper and agate, since this is tier 1. You can find some of the tier 2 resources as listed here on the ground, but you have to kind of travel pretty far from the spire to find those, and they're much rarer. But if you can find a cave, then there's lots of different resources within that. Ooh. And I just fell down into another cave. This is a cool rocky cave. So for those of you who watched my early landmark videos, you'll know that what I was actually trying to build in Landmark was a cave, because I felt that Landmark needed caves. And then they decided to put caves in. So as a result, I have to rethink what I'm going to build, which is an exciting thing to do. And I might still have part of my, I'll probably still have part of my structure that's a cave. So exciting to find caves. And the possibility of there being chests in them. So here is some tourmaline. This is kind of interesting too. It makes it look like roots, but you can collect them. I also got those fancy stones earlier when I got that first chest. give you light for a certain amount of time. So it's, if I bring up my... So they're a light stone, utility, consumable, a small smooth stone that is warm to the touch. It will provide a small amount of light for 1 hour. Alright, so that's a look at the caves and some of the resources that you're able to get. I'm going to go back to the portal and we'll talk a little bit about the different tiers. Took a little bit there to zone back here. Alright, so we're back at the spire. So there's a couple of different ways to travel. So you can just run everywhere in the world that's like within your map. So on each island you can just run wherever you want. You can use these portal shards. So portal shards, which are a utility as well, used to travel to the current continent's portal spire or any claims that you own. So if you've actually staked a claim, then you can portal back and forth between two. This is probably your most useful tool. Always make sure that you have some on hand. Earlier when I said that I went exploring one of the caves, I fell down a whole bunch of it was like a rabbit hole that never ended. And there was no way that I was getting up just the way that the cliff face was built. So we ended up having to go if you bring up your main menu here just by pressing escape, you can evac to safety. So that's actually what I ended up having to do to get out of the cave. But normally you would be able to use your portals to kind of go around. The other way that you can travel is through these ley line network, and that doesn't actually cost you any shards to do. So there are a number of different, so you can actually travel between the different realms, which is really interesting. And then you can travel between different islands. So there are a number of different islands. So for instance, if we wanted to go to the bay, then we could travel there. And then if we bring up the map, this is what this map looks like. It's actually a lot of sandy space. But this is still a tier 1 map, so you can tell that by the different ores that show up around the main platform. This is a huge structure that somebody's built that looks very cool indeed. Alright, so what are you going to do with all of these resources that you've collected? So over here, if we left click on the stone forge, then we can actually refine our metals. So of course we got some copper and some iron. So we could actually make those into ingots, which can be used to make things. So in here as well, you'll find the upgrades. So for your kind of tier 2 map 1, then you can make the copper pick, which will actually allow you to get the iron, tin, and tourmaline. And same thing with the axe. You could get the tin axe, which will actually allow you to cut down specific jungle trees. So it goes beyond the kind of common trees that are just around. So those are the upgrades that you saw there on the side. And over here, so the tinkering workshop, this is where you're going to make your first items that are really useful. So your claim flag is actually made up of copper ore and heartwood. And so you can just use this wherever there's claimable space. So here we can show claimable land. So there's some here, some over here. And if you had claims, it would show that as well. You can get an attached claim flag, which I have one of those as well in my inventory. It takes a whole lot of resources, so take some from the tier 1 and 2 resource collecting, which you can all find in the tier 1 maps, but can be a little bit trickier unless you find yourself in one of the caves or you explore a lot. Then you'll be able to collect some of those other resources to get an attached claim, which means that you can actually expand the space that you own. So you would attach it to a claim that you already have. And here under utility is where you're going to find your portal shards, which, like I say, make sure that you have a bunch of them on hand at all times. I'm going to try to increase that and get up to like having 10 on me at all times, because sometimes I get lazy, I only make a couple, and then that's like back and forth, and then I'm out again. So they're very handy. You should always have some. The light stones, which is what I used a little while ago when I was in the cave. I got some of these just out of a chest, but you can make them. They just require agate and elemental copper. So this is something that's new that I was mentioning earlier, that you can actually make an ore prospector. So it detects nearby veins of ore. Times 1. And I believe it doesn't say here, but in what I was reading, I believe it's only for a limited time that it's used, that it's able to be used. And I believe that they're actually, I think that they're single use. And then the ground sounder detects nearby pockets of gemstones, stones, and ancient earth. And the grappling hook, so that would have been something that would have been handy for me to have. I would have been able to get out of the cave. And again, doesn't take very much. So these are all your kind of utility items. In fact, let's see how much copper I have left. Another thing that I've shown before, but not today, is in your kind of main menu here that you can pop up. There's actually a recipe journal, so you don't actually have to be at Aspire to see these things. So if I wanted to say, I'm going to go here and I want to find out, okay, well, what does it require to make these guys. What does it take to make one of these? One of these. Tracking all of those things. And here. I need 8 for this. Well, I'm over here. Okay, so I need 20 of those. I've already got 16. For that. And this one doesn't require any. So then I can go over here. This is where you, this one over here is where you would make your heartwood. So, or no, wild. So I need a bunch more palms to be able to make. I can only make 2 of those. Bar. And we don't need to track that anymore. So really with your tier 2, I mean, you could, tools, you could gather that stuff in still the tier 1 map, but you could start to actually collect stuff in the tier 2 map. So this is a great example. So this is the iron, so it's a little bit darker, like more bluey, and this is more silvery, so this is the tin. So that's all of the resources that you're able to collect, as I have listed here. One of the great things is, like, I'm showing this video to show you how to collect all of those things, but really you can get a lot of resources within the game itself. So under the help menu, you can actually go to like resource guide. And so it'll tell you about harvesting, where your collection is, which is in your inventory here under this tab. It shows you how many you have of everything, and even what you can collect that you don't already have. So tools tells you about that, your picks, the resources, then it actually shows you what the different ores are and what tier they are. So here they're actually talking about the tier of tool versus the tier map, which the tier maps, like I mentioned before, might be something that's actually going away because they're looking at actually having all of the resources be available through the like caves and whatnot. So the very surface stuff will probably still remain like the easier stuff to get, and then the stuff in the caves will be the more complicated. So you can actually, you know, look at this stuff through here, the gemstones that you can get, the different types of earth. So your axe. So it has kind of the very basics here. So that was under the resource guide. But then there's also ones for, you know, building and your tech tree. So, you know, your first tools, this is what you need to collect to get it. Getting started. In your first little while, it'll tell you what you should gather, and then making your stake. So the guides are actually really helpful, and I think it's really great because in other games, a lot of the time those things pop up, which are sometimes really irritating. Versus, you know, having it be a little bit more passive and easily accessible. Okay, so I just want to see if I can make the prospector just to show you how that works. There we go. So I need one more. Oh, there we go. Okay, so let's just make sure before I portal back. So I've got 3 palm hearts. And I need 3 more of the wild heartwood. And I'm quite sure that only takes 1 per. So let's look at the alchemy station. One per. All right. Hello, Sir Charles. It's like perfect timing because I have to pick up my husband soon too. All right. So over here at the alchemy. We're going to make our 3 infused heartwood. So we have our 5. So we've got everything that we need there. And then we're going to go over here to utility. And we're going to create an ore prospector. Done. Oh, do you see all the... And it is not single use, so you can continue to use it. So we found some ore with our ore prospector. Alright, so I just want to get this set up here. So for the tinkering station, oops. Must be on here. Okay. So, I would like to make a pulverizer for the next time. So I'm going to start gathering some of those materials, and so in the next video I will make the ground sounder and the pulverizer, and we'll take a look at the materials, I guess, here. I'm stuck in like crafting mode for some reason. My hands are going. So for next time we'll have a look at the tier 2. We'll go to a bunch of tier 2 maps, have a look at the materials for tier 2, and the tools for tier 2, and create the ground sounder and mechanized pulverizer, and try out the pulverizer, and hopefully get some more loot in random caves. So hopefully you had a fun time in today's look at Landmark and the tier 1 resources, tier 1 tools, first look at caves, and I hope that you go out there, get creative with your own gaming, and above all, have fun.